What's happening, guys? It's Abhinav from Phone Bunch, and this is a review of the Eureka Note. And I'll tell you all the reasons why you shouldn't even think about buying this phone in this video. First, let's get the specs out of the way. The Eureka Note is selling for about Rs 14,000 in India. It comes with a 6-inch 1080p display, MediaTek MT6753T octa-core processor, 3 gigs of RAM, 16 gigs of onboard storage, a 13 megapixel rear camera, a fingerprint sensor, and yes, an 8 megapixel front camera as well. Now you have sort of a metallic build over here, at least the frame is metal, and you have the power button sandwiched between the two volume buttons on the right. The buttons do have decent tactile response, but they are a bit sharp, especially at the top and bottom. I really don't like this design element here. You do get confused as to which button does which function. Now coming to the left of the device, you have the SIM tray. And you have this weird self-declaration. I don't know why this was put here. It just looks strange on the frame of the device. It would have looked a lot better on the back cover. Now talking about the SIM slot, it is a hybrid SIM card slot, so you can either use two separate SIM cards or one SIM card and one micro SD card. 4G is supported on this device. Coming to the top, you just have the headphone jack and you have the micro USB data syncing and charging port along with the microphone at the bottom. Which now brings me to the back of the device, where you have a 13 megapixel camera, dual tone LED flash noise cancellation mic, and a fingerprint sensor which just works on its own accord. And at the bottom you do have two speakers which are quite loud and clear. It's one of the highlighting features of this otherwise very uninteresting smartphone. Coming to the front, you have an 8 megapixel camera, proximity and light sensors just above the display. At the bottom you can see you have on-screen buttons, which is good because this is a 6-inch device. And you also have a notification LED, and the display here is actually another good thing. It is quite clear, touch response is also good, and I really didn't face any issues here. Even the color reproduction looks pretty natural, even though sometimes it might seem a bit faded. Now if we come to network and call quality, here I did face some issues. Network reception is really not that good. Moreover, the earpiece, for some reason, is definitely not that loud. You do have call recording built in, which some people do like. Now we didn't have any issues with Wi-Fi reception. That actually did work out quite well, and you just have support for the 2.4 GHz band. Which now brings me to the rear camera. You have a 13 megapixel rear camera which the company says does support phase detection autofocus. And I can tell you that it is one of the slowest phones in autofocusing that I have seen. You can see right there, it just doesn't want to focus. And moreover, the color reproduction of images taken with this camera is actually quite poor. The video quality taken with this camera is also not that good. It's overall one of the worst cameras I've seen in this price segment. If you compare the Redmi Note 3, the Love 1S, the K4 Note, the Moto G3 Turbo, each and every phone that I've used, even the YP1, has a better camera than this phone. The rear camera is absolutely atrocious. In fact, the front-facing camera does a far better job, even though that's not saying much. It's just better than the rear camera. You can just see here, images turn out super soft with very poor color reproduction and very poor control over exposure. Most of the things have a sort of a greenish or a bluish tint to them. Colors just appear quite cold. HDR mode actually did slightly better at times, but you would have to keep the phone very still. Focusing, again, as I said, is a bit of an issue with this device, and you can see highlights are generally blown out where you have a lot of light. When we come to indoor lighting, this camera just doesn't perform well at all. Very grainy images and very poor quality. Which brings me to another sore point, the fingerprint sensor at the back. Now you have to really press a bit on the fingerprint sensor for it to recognize. It doesn't want to work many a times, and it seems it's the same fingerprint sensor that we saw on the Utopia, because that was really atrocious as well. But when it works, yes, it does work fine. Now there are some options available here. You can lock apps with it too, and that function actually works well if the fingerprint sensor does recognize your touch. So it's sort of a pressure sensitive fingerprint sensor, but for the most part it is decent. Now this is the headset that you get within the box. These do sound quite alright, especially for in-box headsets. Now audio quality through the headphone jack is surprisingly quite crisp. You do get loud audio from the headphone jack, and even the speakers at the back are quite loud. That is one of the highlights and one of the only few highlights of this device. Those speakers at the back are crisp, they are loud, and they don't distort at full volume. FM radio is also supported and does work out quite fine. You can even record FM in stereo quality. And given this large display, you would really want to watch videos and movies on this device, and that is where this device definitely doesn't disappoint. The speakers at the back, as I said earlier, are quite loud, which is always a great bonus, especially if you are watching movies. Which now brings me to software. So you are running almost a stock build of Android 5.1 with the Around You launcher with several services. But apart from that, you don't get much bloatware on this device. It's a pretty clean interface, and you can see there's not much customization here either. And most of the time it actually does work quite fine, but there is a lack of optimization. With several apps open, the phone does begin to bog down a little bit, and you have just about 10.7 gigs of storage out of 16 GB that's available on the device. USB OTG, however, is supported here. Now we didn't have any issues with memory management. There was a lot of free RAM, about 2 gigs, even though several apps were running in the background. Now we did run into some issues with the audio on the device actually. Even though the speakers are quite loud, the thing is they just stopped playing for some reason. While you're watching a video on YouTube, if the phone goes to sleep, you have just kept it somewhere, when it comes back, the audio just stops playing and you have to restart the device for any audio to work. In fact, ringtones also not work at that time. So weird issues here which definitely need to be sorted out and shouldn't be there on a production model in the first place. With which we should now come to performance. Now in general we didn't face any major issues with performance, but when you actually have a lot of apps open in the background or you're watching movie continuously or playing games, this phone does get hot very quickly. We have seen temperatures rise to 48 degrees centigrade with continuous video playback as well as with continuous gaming. Even while talking on the phone, it does get a bit hot. Although not as hot as while it gets with gaming, but you can certainly feel it getting hot while you are talking to somebody else. And the effect of that can be seen on the battery life of the device as well. In general, we were able to get more than 1.5 to 2 days of use. But if you play games continuously or watch videos, there is a very steep drop in the battery life of the device. Then there's the build. The build seems really sloppy. I can actually peel the back cover off with just my nails if I want to. Couple that with the sharp buttons, weird audio issues, the mammoth size of this device, and that fingerprint sensor being very finicky. I would really not recommend you buying this device. At this price point, the Redmi Note 3 is still one of the better options, and if you want a smaller smartphone, the Moto G3 should still be the way to go. Now the Eureka Note again seems like a work in progress like every other UTele Ventures device that was launched in India. The software seems unfinished, it's not optimized, gameplay was really poor here because we have seen this chipset perform far better than what we see with the Eureka Note. So overall, it's 2 thumbs down for this phone. Don't even think about buying this, you will really regret it because we are. Thanks for watching this video. It's Abhinav signing off. I'll be back again with more videos, but do subscribe to get our videos first. Do hit the like button if you liked this video. You know what to do if you disliked it. Do comment, share your own thoughts, and as always, have a great day.